She's from SC5 Online in Helsinki, and she's going to talk about driving style guide-driven development. Please have a round of applause for Varya Stepanova.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. I'm really very excited to be here. And my talk is going to be about style guides, about how to came up with style guides in your development process, and about the tooling you would need. So first of all, a couple of words about me. My name is Varya Stepanova. I'm from Helsinki. I work there for SC5 Online. This is a consultancy company which helps other companies, the clients, to develop complex products. And if speaking particularly about my experience, I'm mostly focused on front-end libraries, long-running projects, and recently on style guides. This is why I'm going to show you what we are doing and what I personally do. And as for the company SC5 Online, if I would be asked to describe in a few words what we are doing, I would say that we are bringing progress. Because, of course, we are front-end engineers and we write CSS, JavaScript, and so on. But for many cases, this is really a secondary thing. Because the main thing we aim is to change process of development, to bring new techniques, new methods. And sometimes it requires like providing tooling for accepting these methods. And the style guide case is this case. So first about the problem we were aiming to solve. In here I draw like a canonical way how we all develop websites. So it usually starts with the designer, which who create Photoshop or Sketch file of a web page, and then it goes to another guy who creates HTML, CSS markup, and after the page dummy is ready, it goes to be integrated into the actual product. Even if it's still the same person, these are three different roles and three certain particular stages of the process. And from time perspective, it looks usually like that, so that we estimate how much time we need for design, then for markup, and then for integration. But in reality, it's usually very different. So it starts from that we usually need more time to create the design, and then after that we still start to make markup, but it's probably not that good idea because the new requirements for design appear again and again, and we need to throw away our markup and work with the updated design. So we are creating new markup, and there is no any integration because there is no even space for it. Yeah. And another thing is that it happens over and over again. Okay, this was the first iteration, but when we need to change something, when we need to fix bug or provide new feature, it's again the same. The full page drawn in Photoshop or Sketch, and then we are trying to fix markup, and so on. And it leads us to the fact that it's very hard to keep the visual design consistent and code accurate, and even small changes can provide a lot of mess, such as, let's say we are asked to change all the form controls on the website. It sounds very easy, but depending on the website code base, it might be really heavy refactoring and time-consuming and risky, because you never know when changing CSS. Sometimes you never know what it causes, this change. And so I would say that this process leads us to unmaintainable code and unmaintainable design. This was the problem to solve. And actually, the market already provides the solution. This is like, not only ours face this problem. Like developers all over the world think about what we can do with all these CSS and websites mess. And the recent trend is to consider websites as complex systems, not as bunch of pages. And as complex systems, we may like borrow solutions from like bigger programming. Like simple thing, divide and rule the component way. This is, if considering website as a system, it is applicable there. And so CSS provides some solutions. I just wrote some random because it doesn't matter which one you would choose. The idea matters, that we divide interface into independent components. And so this must help because in this case, we would have a development cycle for every single piece of interface which we need to fix or redo or whatever. And this must help because everything is encapsulated regarding the particular block interface. And so it can be shared among team members, and it's easier to provide changes in a smaller thing. So that's it. But it's easy to say and not that easy to do, because we developers, we already have our experience and we use it when we are doing our stuff. And every change is like getting out of our comfort zone. It's not that easy just to and stop considering websites as a bunch of pages and think modular. So there should be some solution besides just advice to do modular. The technique which many people accept is to have living style guides. I mean that they can be another website aside of the product which shares the same CSS. And it's like a documentation website. It represents the components one by one. And with the same CSS as a production solution, it renders how these components look. And this is why it's living, because it immediately reflects all the changes. I listed some links, and by the end of presentation, I will give a link to the presentation, so you will be able to check the style guides. So the technique is already acceptable for a lot of developers. And using this makes it possible to do another thing, which is called style guide-driven development. Meaning, if you have such a documentation website, why not to start developing from it? Let's say we need a new interface piece. We can forget about we have any product and just start to develop in this documentation website. And when the component is ready, it already is in the product CSS because they share the same file. And we just need to bring markup in the product. And as for fixing bugs or the slight changes, it's even easier because once it's changed on this style guide website, it immediately gets into the product. So that's it. This is the idea. But again, okay, I told you this, but it doesn't mean that you stand up, go to your computer, and immediately start to do that. Because again, it's easy to say, but not that easy to do. It's different from what we are used to. And it's a kind of, I would say, cultural challenge to start thinking modular and to start doing modular. Solving this problem, we decided that, okay, we cannot we can do nothing to the cultural change, which is something which people need to overcome on their own. But we can take part over all the technical stuff, kind of provide a tool. And so we did. So we in our company, we created an open source tool. We didn't bother about the name, so it's just style guide generator by SC5. And in this tool, we tried to solve all the technical problems which a developer may face when using this component approach. So the tool is open sourced. You can later explore the website, and it's on GitHub with all the issues, pull requests, and so on. But I will show you now, in life, how to use that. So this is a project. Doesn't matter what exactly a project is, just a project with some CSS. And in here, you would see that the tool is installed as npm package. And in the project, there are some CSS. These are the files. In the files, we describe with comments in special syntax what are the components. It's very similar to GSDoc, but for CSS. So for example, in here, it's written that, okay, we have logo component, then some words about it, then a markup to use, and then it goes like CSS code. This is actually Sass. So code for the component. And the same goes for next one, just buttons, which can be used with this markup. And they are modifiable. And again, some code. And so all these Sass files, oh, you can see everything. Let's make it like that. So all these Sass files, they have like some components. Now let's try to use the tool. Okay. So it's gulp integrated, so I already have a task prepared. I just run gulp dev. And it analyzes my code and creates this documentation website locally. So it says that it's already running, so let's see. This is the website. All the menu items, they represent something which is written in that Sass code I showed you. For example, we were looking at something, let's say at here. So, or at items, or whatever. So in here, every component turns into a block, which has name. Then it's described. It has the information about modifiers. And in here, this markup, it's supposed that a developer would copy it from the documentation. It might be me, the author of this style guide, or my colleague. We would copy and bring it into the product. And okay, this is the CSS, just for information. It's rendered right here. This is not a picture, it's actual HTML. And you can see how this component looks. And it's alive, I can prove it. So for example, in here, even JavaScript works. You see that the value changes. Yeah. And also it is possible to look at the example rendered like on its own. There is nothing else on this page. This is very good for different testing approaches, which I'm going to demonstrate to you. So that's it, and we have like everything we had in the Sass code. It's described here. Now let's play developers. Let's try to provide changes into that Sass code. So, okay, I have it opened here. So this is the component we were looking at. And in here I have some code prepared. I will just remove the comment. That's it. And in here you see that the files are watchable and it causes rebuilding of the process. And if I go back to the website, it's already re-rendered and the component looks different. So that's it. Another thing is this design tool button. In here, it's possible to see all the variables because it's SAS code and it's used variables, and all the variables used for the component are listed here. It's also possible to look at the variables of the whole project like that. But for bigger projects, it's such a long list, so it's not very useful. So we decided a kind of focus on the variables which we are using now. So this is for this component, like that. And if I scroll down to another component, this list will change, like here. The variables can be whatever. It's just taken from SAS code, so it might be dimensions or like font family or whatever, or color. And it's possible to change it from here. For example, I can change this blue into green. And when I save it, it goes back to the source code, and then the website rebuilds, and the new thing like reapplied. You see that the component has become green. And if I scroll down, I see another thing which also became green because it also uses the same variable. If I also go back to here, I need to show you that the actual source code has been changed from the web interface. So it's very nice for tuning, especially for dimensions and so on. And if I wonder, like, if my changes affected something, I can focus on all the components which use this variable by clicking there. And here they are. Of course, it's a color, so it's listed in colors. And then, okay, this thing is green. Okay, the button is also green, so I can check if I didn't break anything. And besides such a search, it is possible just to search as a substring. So let's say I'm refactoring all the inputs, and in here I can select them. And so all the components which use input inside them, they are listed here. If, like, let's say font size is wrong, I would immediately spot it. Yeah. So that's for the tool. And now the usage. So we wanted it to be very easy for the developers, because remember, they are overcoming the cultural challenge. We don't need to bother them. So it must be easy. And as an easy thing, we decided that it can be NPM package. And we tried to support all the syntaxes which might appear at our project. However, we personally had SAS project, but we also supported other syntaxes for the next projects. This thing is Gulp and Grunt integrated out of the box, because if it were just a command, it would be interesting, but once like a developer ran it, they would forget about it, because it must be into the process. And as developers most likely have Gulp or Grunt, it's integrated there. The comments I showed you, are actually KSS syntax for documenting CSS. This is not our invention. We support another syntax. This is because we already had these KSS style guides, and we wanted it to be absolutely compatible. And so we achieved that if someone has this KSS documentation in code, they have to do nothing, just to run these gulp tasks. And then that's all. And they will get this documentation website absolutely free. And also we supported Angular directives as a template, and this is because we personally needed it. So we cared about using this website as a development playground. And so we made all this watching and after refreshing and the variable stuff I showed you. And it's supposed that the development happens on this website, and then the results are committed. So then we tried it first on the large project. This one was what I showed you. It was a pattern library of ELISA, mobile operator, which I'm sure you're familiar here, yeah? Yeah. So they have a lot of websites, and they need to keep this design consistency and share code, and so they have library now for their. And we are using the style guide to represent the library components. And I would say that this is a success story, because I'm leading this project, but I never wrote a single component for this library. I only do infrastructure and mentoring stuff. Everything else is done by developers from different websites. They share their code. And with this style guide tool, it's so easy for them to bring code into the library or to fix it and clear. Their changes are clear reflected. And so it's not a problem, and they just bring their code into the library, and so it exists. And, also, we get some new testing techniques, which wouldn't be possible without such approach. Like here, there are two screenshots of the same component, and I think people would barely see the difference, especially if they are not together, like in this screen, but on two different windows. And so when testing changes, it's sometimes not very convenient to just look at them. We need to have some automating thing. For example, compare previous version and the current one with screenshots taken, where you automatically can spot that, okay, something is wrong. We probably use another font color, or not font size, and it spoiled our buttons. They are not good anymore. So this is possible because now the components are isolated, and we can take these screenshots on their own. Because for larger pages, such approach just doesn't help that much. There are too many things which are different on these pages. But in here, we got this approach as visual testing. So we have some a bunch of canonical screenshots, which we aim to be like them. And at any time, we can test our local copy automatically and see if the components do look like that. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no time to show right now how it works, but it can be run on my computer. If you are interested, welcome to come. I will show you. So very nice thing for continuous integration. And really provides new level of stability of interfaces. So for the large project, we got cross-company design consistency, and a lot of technical things, like due to this approach. And as for communication, it also helps because now, like all the team members, the designers, the developers, and managers and product owners, they have the same representation of what we actually are doing, what is our interface, and also helps, of course, for remote teams. So, no wonder for such a big project. But I also was interested if it helps for smaller project as well, because like not everyone develops like Python library for ELISA. Sometimes the projects are way too smaller. And usually, as for small projects, people take the cat's home pages, but I don't have. I have a cat, but there is no home page of this cat. So I took my own blog, which is like just a couple of pages. And I decided to bring style guide there, this tool, and represent the interface I have in like this modular approach. And in this blog post, it's quite long because I describe all the technical things, what I needed to change, and so on. So if you want, you can read. But the main thing is that it has already been developed in modular BEM way. I was pretty sure that its CSS architecturally is perfect. But when applying style guide there, I realized that everything is wrong. So I did develop it modularly, but still from the page perspective, I never developed the components like on their own. And if I had this representation, I would develop maybe not completely differently, but with some with some other approaches. And also, it reveals me that if I fix these mistakes I found, it would be much easier to provide new interfaces which I was already thinking about. So I think even for small pages, this style guide approach gives another perspective of an interface we are developing. And this perspective really valuable. So, and if summing up, I would say that, okay, this is just a tool, but I hope that constant using of such a tool and such approach will help us to step of this, like my website is a bunch of pages, what is CSS and JavaScript I need to make it function. And we probably will get used to like this modular approach, is thinking about what are the components, what are the modules needed for this interface. And maybe I have one, some of them already, or should I provide new? And if I have to provide new components, I will do them in the style guide. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Have that. Thank you, Varvara.
Thank you.
Little something for you. Okay, do we have any questions for Varvara from the audience before we go to the next one there? Very good. There was one question about what are your thoughts on BEM? I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was, but yes. What are your thoughts on BEM?
Could you repeat?
What are your thoughts on BEM?
Oh, yeah. I like the approach, yeah. And I've been in, let's say, BEM evangelist for a long time. So I think that before we, in our industry, we have like web components normally functioning, we would need like a modular solution like that. So, is it really necessary?
Yeah! It's like you can use it, if I understood, you could use it to create from scratch your framework, was it?
It's not a framework. It's a method. Also,
Right, a method to create
how
it, right.
how to think when develop websites. How to make like the component independent of the its.
Right, so if you're building your CSS and all that from scratch, from nothing, it's a methodology and a method to help you build that CS up from nothing, right? Do it in a modular way and not just kind of slap it together and do it like this, right? Whereas I understand then your tool is then like taking what you've already made and then being able to look at it live and then modify it and then possibly turn back those changes. But your tool needs to have it there running to begin with, right?
Yeah, if the question is like if BEM is possible to use with the style guide, then indeed yes, and so I do in my blog.
Right, so it's a way to create it from, it's like the first step before all of this. So, okay, so there could be, but you could make that in any way using any methodology. There's a really good one here, question that I liked. If you're doing some sort of continuous integration, which is really cool at the end visually, because that's, then you could, automatically see how it's rendered and then apply that back in. How do you know if a change, when it gets looked at again, if that change is meant to be there or not? I mean, with a continuous integration. So something's changed, right? You're using, basically automatically look at the automating slide. If something changes, how do you know it's meant to be changed or not meant to be changed?
If it's need to be changed, we can exclude the test.
Okay.
And as for visual thing, the tool we use, it doesn't always have output like that. It's only for humans. It also has like output like that, and this suits for continuous integration. Just if an error appears, it like fails, and so Jenkins or Travis know that build is not like build failed.
Right. Okay. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit more later.
Yeah.
There. Cool. All right. Anything else before we head off there? All right, yes, sir, down there.
How is your solution different from? Thank you. How is your solution different from similar solutions? I just searched up on the web. There are things like hologram and other style guide generators, right?
Yeah, we used KSS style guide generator before developing this. But then we realized that there is lack of features. For example, this variable selection I showed you. And due to KSS architecture, it was not possible to bring these features there. And also, KSS, it's a kind of lightweight thing. And so we decided to take this KSS generator as a dependent package and build like all the features we needed at top of it.
Okay, very good. Yes, sir? Oh, it's you, sexy developer, sir guy. All right. I remember you.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a question from a completely different area. I saw a tweet regarding diversity just pop in just a couple of minutes ago. And my question to you is, how could we get more women into the development world?
All right, let's do it, sure. Why not? So we're all very happy at the conference. There's a lot of women speaking. That's awesome. What do you think some of the things are holding back women getting in, maybe?
Would you ask this question if I were a man?
No, I think specifically that's why he's asking it to you. From your perspective, because men clearly know nothing about this topic.
I think my answer would be don't make a difference.
Don't make a difference.
Yes.
That's very hard, though. The problem is, though... Yay, sisters. The problem is that's very hard for guys. We don't understand. Like, guys get together. Like, let's say there's a group of guys in the development team. We don't want it to be a boys' club, but it might accidentally... We're a group of boys. It's going to be like that. So we don't know what we're doing wrong to stop it being a boys' club.
It's really out of my expertise. I'm sorry.
Right, okay. I just thought, all right, very good. Maybe we'll come back to that one later. Very good. We should probably move on. All right, let's do it. We're going to be back here in a little while. We've got 2 more speakers before the end. Please, one more round of applause. Varya Stepanova, please.
Yeah, thank you very much.